A private investigation team sent from a large corporation joined the federal government in addressing multiple cases that never went public. Sarah Weston, Paul Blakely, and Raj Patel all were reported missing from the Blackstone Valley in the fall of 2009.
In South Grafton, we have our fair share of wildlife. Deer, moose, an occasional black bear, and our cubs have been spotted in the region. I heard sounds coming from the woods on occasion, but never anything like this before. It was drawn out and glottal, a pained wail that almost sounded like something a man in mourning might make, but someone that never learned to properly speak. A neighbor a few houses down keeps goats, and I know they make some strange, human-like yells on occasion, but this was far different. I stood from my desk and walked down the carpet to the back-facing window. We have a stretch of lawn about 20 meters out back, a place Linda and I plan on placing a swing set when the time came for a kid, but that just never happened. A lot of bills. Anyway, beyond that is a tree line with a row of spruces that the deer always nibble on in the fall. The sun, I remember it had just set, and the light was replaced by this dull shadows you get when the forest starts growing, but I could see the rustling branches at the base of a spruce tree at my yard's edge. Whatever had been there was out of view that was making that sound, but I knew where it had been. I was about to turn away from the windows to nestle into the couch, and then I heard another one of those horrible, throaty noises at the tree line. It seemed to be from a different direction, like a bit further to the left. That almost human groaning that echoed in the autumn air, it was something about it triggered something in my mind, like I can't explain. Like some primordial fear I'd not felt since I was a small child, and it scared the hell out of me. So I just watched those trees swaying in the breeze. I tried to convince myself it was just a pair of moose bulls fighting over a cow. I'd nearly convinced myself of this when I saw the gleam of eyes catching the area light from our home. We have them high up near the roof in the corners. But I caught the eyes of something. They were too far apart, like maybe 1.5 feet between them. That's far too broad for a deer or even a moose. And the worst thing is I could tell by the angle that they were watching me. I checked the time. Like, I was missing Linda at this point. I mean, I texted her a few times, never heard back. And I hate to say it, I'm the protector, but this is the first time since moving in that I felt not just helpless, I felt terrified. I've been plenty worried when I was laid off, scared of what might come for when Linda and I had a fight, and that would be the end of it. But this was different. This is the first time I felt this actual palpable dread that you get when you feel like your life could easily come to an end at some point. I can't explain how it felt that way. Anyways, I locked the windows, closed the curtains, and then I just wanted to remove myself from whatever the line of sight between me and whatever it is was out in those woods looking at me. So I couldn't stop thinking about the distance between those reflective eyes. I mean, but I kept trying to not think about it. Anyways, I remember talking to myself. I kept saying, like, animals don't enter homes, dummy, out of sight, out of mind, trying to say some mantras to try to distract me. And then I heard the thump. My jaw clenched. I froze. Something had banged into the sliding glass door on the west side of her house where Linda had talked about an extension. And it was fucking close. Sounded like a hand, but like a squeak, like it had been dragged against a large pane. And I drew my eyes to this matted fur around a wet black nose of a deer. And I remember sighing because I felt like, okay, it's just an animal. Releasing a wave of tension that had been building since that animal cry from deep within those woods. Just a deer. I remember I smiled and the smile sagged, and I remember looking back and all that reassurance was gone as I looked through the black painted glass, and a few details of the animal that were visible from that low light came into view. Its fur-coated muzzle was split just past the nose, and the split widened considerably as it extended further back into two strangely hollow eyes that I swear like stuck out like they were on stalks. I know how it sounds. The gap in between those eyes was considerable, nearly a foot probably. Fur below its chest, below its had these emaciated legs, patched and thin. There seemed to be another split in the ribs, dangling part of meat, and below those, what looked like, I guess, segmented legs. Like an insect's kind of, but much larger, like thick as a man's finger, almost like glossy black snow crab legs. I just struggled to understand what the fuck I was looking at. And then any kind of trance that I might have been in trying to figure that out for that half second before fear kicked in was gone with that cracking sound as the nose of the deer split open. And I remember I screamed. I remember half-dozen insect-like legs dangling from an abdomen, wriggling and writhing. I remember it screamed this awful sound, a bellowing, wailing, altered and horrible, like something I wished I could unhear. I watched a few seconds longer as I tried to wrap my head around what that was. Standing nearly a yard and a half tall and raw-boned limbs, with spread-apart eyes staring at me. Whatever had occupied that poor animal was no longer the one controlling it. That was somehow beyond apparent. It was being used, puppeted from something, or altered. I can't even explain it. Anyways, I remember I ran out of there, ran into the bedroom, called for Linda, no answers, kept calling on the phone, leaving messages. I need to take a break.